Come on, Conley, give me a question. Start the ball rolling.
Good opportunity to continue the momentum for your guys.
That's right. There you go. At the scene, write my opening statement for me. Yes, it is a good opportunity. You know, I'm anxious to get back with my guys here in practice. Certainly all ecstatic with the win against Syracuse, but you know, we got to get our focus now on going back on the road and playing well. Had a very difficult game with these guys the first time. You know, they're very good offensively. They really are hard to guard. They were hard for us, especially in the first half. I thought last time we played, and you know, Olivier Sarr, every time you watch him, he just keeps getting better and better. Incredible prospect. He made some plays last night's game that were off the chart good. Looks like Brandon Childress is back after being out for the Virginia game, and he played exceptionally well in the first half, and has always been a guy that can really score. And I feel like the freshmen on their team are really starting to play with confidence, and sophomores, the young guys. They got a lot of young guys. Mucius has been outstanding here the last couple of games. So we got to do a better job. We got to be really good defensively, I think, in the game. And we've been okay defensively, but we've been a little inconsistent. I think that's something we got to improve.
Is it a bit strange playing them so soon after you just played?
Yeah, a little bit, but we just did that with NC State as well. You know, I think it's going to kind of be that way. It's different that Virginia Tech is first game of the season, and then, you know, late in the season. But you know, just like I said with State, I don't think there's any advantage either way. I think, you know, both teams are familiar with each other and will be prepared. And, you know, like all games, it's going to come down to the players executing, making plays, finishing plays, you know, competing. And, you know, I'm hopeful our guys will be energized and play better than we did the last time we were out on the road.
Brad, when you first got Tevin on the team, did you think he was going to be as versatile as he's become? Being the first player?
Yeah, I felt like, you know, I knew Tevin's game pretty well. You know, having seen him play, you know, I don't know how many times back in high school, and then occasionally watching him, you know, a snippet of a game or two, or seeing a highlight or something from a game. You know, we kind of knew what kind of player he was. You know, and so obviously that's one of the reasons why we were excited about getting him, is we thought he could score in a bunch of different ways, and we felt like that was something this team really lacked with losing all those seniors last year. You know, he's been really, really good sometimes. He's been a little inconsistent at times. You know, hopefully he's continuing to get more comfortable and building on that, and, you know, we'd love for him to finish his senior year on a high note. And you know, certainly the game against Syracuse was incredible, incredible performance. So hopefully he's going to keep building on that.
You've known him for a long time. How have you seen him grow on and off the court since you saw him in high school?
Well, you know, I've known him for a long time, but you don't get to know him as well as you would like. You know, and certainly we didn't really keep in touch, you know, after he went to those other schools. So that's a tougher question in terms of he's more mature. He's you know, he's probably more mature just about the whole college basketball experience. You know, I think we all come in, young kids come in a little green and don't realize how much work it really is, how challenging it's going to be. And I think he probably appreciates things a little more now, you know, being an older player. You know, but he, as I mentioned, you know, after the game against Syracuse, his approach has been outstanding. His effort in practice has been really good, and I think he's got a good energy and spirit about him to compete. I think he likes basketball. I think he likes to play, and so I think that comes out, and that's been helpful to this team.
For him to have a shot at the NBA, what do you feel like he needs to? I know that's not your thought right now.
Yeah, it really isn't my process, I mean, consistency as much as anything. That's just, I think you gotta be consistent to play at the next level. Be productive. There's so many guys that are good players. There's all kinds of really good players in college. And so, you've got to be able to separate yourself with consistency.
I know it only counts for 3 in the win column, but when you get W's against UNC, Duke, Syracuse, what does that do for a team's confidence as you get set for the stretch run here, where it'll determine how this season plays out?
Yeah, I think our team's got good confidence right now, and I think it's been building throughout the month, certainly with all the wins. And I think that's important. I think confidence plays a big part in how these guys, perform. And it's tough when you lose close games, and when you're working really hard and competing and fighting, and you have a difficult outcome, and sometimes you play well and don't win, and that's hard. But hopefully, some of the winning and the good positive performances that guys have, gives them confidence and a little more juice and energy, and makes your practices better, and you kind of build on it as a team. And we knew this was a team that we thought would continue to improve with so many new players and different roles for a bunch of different guys. Losing as many guys as we did, that it would take some time for this team to probably be put together, and us to coach them better, and them to figure out exactly what it is that they're going to do well and what their role is. And I think, we've just kind of grown together, and we've had a lot of fun. This last month has been great. We've worked hard, and we've gotten some good results. But now, again, sustaining is a challenge. It's hard to sustain that as long as you have to through a 20-game ACC season.
You speak of the sustaining in the ACC season, particularly how hard is it even in any venue in the ACC to go on there and win those road games?
Yeah, really hard. It is. I've said this before. I think, the best players on teams probably aren't as affected by road games, but a lot of the role players and a lot of the guys that maybe aren't the best players but are good players, I think sometimes they struggle a little bit sometimes, or they get out of rhythm, or if things don't go well early, it's hard for them to bounce back. Whereas maybe at home that you get the positive feedback from your home crowd, and that helps you bounce back if you don't get off to a good start, or if you make a couple good plays, you're energized with your home crowd. And so you really got to come together collectively as a group in these trips away from home, and really rally together and play well.
So kind of off of basketball for a second, in the wake of Kobe's death, there's been a huge trend of people posting pictures with their daughters, #GirlDad. What is it like being a father of 2 girls?
That's a great question. And my wife, I try to stay off Twitter and all that stuff during the season. My wife actually just told me that here mid-morning or whatnot, and said that I need to probably put a tweet out there with my girls. You know what? It's having girls is awesome. They're special, and you want to protect them all the time. And I don't have a son, so I don't know what that's like, but I can imagine I probably would treat them a little different. I might be a little tougher on them. But you know what? It's they're special. They're special to me. They have been, incredibly supportive, and I try to reciprocate as best I can as a good dad. And I really try to make time. It's been an incredible blessing that they've come to Clemson, and that they're still around, and come by the office, and every once in a while Dad can take them to lunch. But it's not something that I'm not aware of or don't appreciate. I'm incredibly blessed to have them, my wife in my life, and realize that every day.
Given the way that the season has played out kind of all around the country and in the ACC as well, you guys string some wins together. There's a real shot at possibly going to the tournament here. Do you address that with your team, or is it still game by game?
Nah, not
big
really, not
picture
yet.
at all?
I don't think so. We're still a long ways, I think, from all those things. I mean, we just kind of we talk about the week at the beginning of the week and what's in front of us, and we have talked a little bit about climbing in the standings, and what has gotten us there, the process that we've undertaken to get there, and how sustaining that is challenging, and the commitment required to do that from everybody is high level, and it's hard to get teams to do that all the time, and we're so easily distracted, and that's one thing that was different about our trip to Italy, was that we played this great tournament all in a 10-day, 2-week period, and so you just kind of rode the wave of that. There wasn't a lot of sustaining it. It just happened so fast. Every time you turned around, it felt like you had a game, and this is much more difficult, and there are so many more people that can get to you, and so many more responsibilities with school and media and all the other things that are in these guys' lives, that being able to handle all those distractions is a big part of team success. And so we just try to keep educating our guys about some of those things, and keeping them excited and energized.
I know you said Amir does a lot more than just score, but with his scoring being down some, how do you feel like his mindset is right now? What's kind of your message been to him?
Yeah, it's been good. I think he's fine. I did remind him yesterday, we chatted for a little bit, and I just kind of reminded him that, every game is different, takes on a life of its own, and some games are going to be played in a way that lend themselves to you making more plays and having more touches, and maybe there's more open space. It just, like, some of the things you can't dictate. You can't dictate how the other team's guarding you and whatnot. I said, kind of talked to him about, hey, you had these performances here, Duke and TCU and North Carolina, and I mean, these are incredible games, but like, nobody plays that way every day. And so, you're also going to have a game or two like Louisville or Syracuse where you don't score very much, and maybe you don't even get that many attempts. I said, that's going to be over here. I said, and that's not going to happen very often either. I said, when you're in the middle of a game that's not going as well, what's really important is that you have the confidence in yourself to remember that you have these performances over here, like we've seen them. It's on record, and a lot of times a game can flip in a couple minutes. You make a couple buckets, make a couple good plays, and all of a sudden your momentum changes within the game. And I think that's one challenge with young players, guys at this level, is making them not be so affected by what people perceive to be a poor performance. Part of it is just understanding you're not going to play, you're not going to score 25 and get 12 rebounds every night. That's just not normal. But you have that potential. So whenever you're struggling just a little bit, don't forget that you are this guy. You're the same guy, and sometimes it's just the nature of the game. And so we had a good talk about that yesterday for a little bit. And I think he understands that. But I was trying to remind him a little bit of, again, we're going to need you, and you got big games in you. But every game's not going to be a big game scoring wise. You're going to be a guy that does other things and keep doing those. So I think it was helpful.
The other night you mentioned Clyde and some of the intangibles he brings to the court outside of scoring. What does he do for you guys at practice? What does he do for those guys as far as bringing them together?
Yeah, I think he's first of all, he's very smart. Like, he understands our stuff really well, and he and Amir have always been some of the quicker learners on our team. Even as young players, those guys could pick things up pretty quickly. And so there's a confidence that comes from that. There's a confidence that they play with, and then obviously they talk about it when they're trying to encourage their teammates in practice, or they pull a guy to the side and correct him on something, or they may even say something to him that I didn't say, that they saw that on a play or on a possession. And obviously there were some other guys that did it to them. Dante Grantham did it for those guys when they were young, Gabe DeVoe. But those two guys in particular have always been two guys that are very bright, have picked things up pretty quickly and are, you know, very good teachers for us. And so I think they do a good job of that in practice.
You mentioned close games a little while ago. Since that North Carolina game, you guys have been able to win some of those here down the stretch. Is that something you think you guys have improved in? Is kind of managing?
Yeah, I think, you know, I don't always have answers for what that is. Just like last year when we lost a million close games, you know, sometimes it is bad luck. Sometimes it's good luck. Sometimes it's a guy making a great play against you or for you. And I thought in our game against Syracuse, you know, there wasn't a lot of coaching. You know, hey, if they shoot and miss and I like what I see, you guys go make a play. I trust you to make a good play. And they did. I mean, I didn't really have a lot to do with it. Kayvon and Clyde made the great play. So that was those guys. And, you know, that's what you want to do as a coach is try to trust your players, put them in a good position and hope that they make, you know, good plays. And, but I do think there's some confidence that comes from winning games like that. And probably last year when our team lost, you know, 3 or 4 in a row at the end and all these different crazy ways, it probably felt like, oh, what's going to happen next? You know, we certainly didn't talk like that. We talked in a positive way, but it just felt like it was kind of one of those years where things weren't going well for us, and we did get some bad breaks. And this year, our guys have made big shots. We've gotten a stop. We've made a play, and been able to string a few together where we've won a bunch of these close ones in a couple overtime games and things of that nature.
Any more questions?
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.